History just saw its first real crack in the old warfare machine. A whole enemy base taken without a single human boot on site. Putin was still playing the numbers game, betting on the same old math. He wanted a meat grinder. It was Russia's only plan left for victory. The old goal was simple, just man against man. Thousands thrown into the fire, bodies stacked for a tiny win. They thought they could win with pure, mindless volume. But Ukraine just broke that entire system. Zelensky dropped a truth bomb that shook the foundations of global military power. Taking a fort without losing a soul isn't just a win, it is a funeral. The very DNA of how we kill each other just mutated. Say hello to the collapse of flesh. 25,000 steel robots are coming. These machines are heading straight for the front lines right now. It is a nightmare for Putin because he has 0 cards left to play. No trump card. No answer for an army that doesn't bleed. You and I are watching the total breakdown of Russian military relevance in real time. But first, let's look closer at exactly how this operation went down. Security's tight, but we know this happened on the crumbling Eastern Front, right in the middle of the most brutal fighting imaginable. This wasn't luck. It was air and ground harmony. Old-school logic says you need human waves to take a fortified trench. Tanks, artillery, and the inevitable pile of bodies. That was the old way. They call it the death zone for a reason. Ukraine looked at those casualty lists and decided to quit that game. They handed the keys to the machines, starting with a swarm of drones. Suicide FP. V-drones and high-tech eyes in the sky took over. Russian bunkers and trenches were picked apart from the air with surgical spite. Even electronic jamming couldn't stop these autonomous hunters from finding their mark. Russian troops couldn't even peek over the dirt without losing their heads. Once the air was clear, Ukraine's ground-based steel monsters crawled into view. They rolled straight through the death zone and into the trenches. As Zelensky put it, one bot walked into hell and finished the job alone. It worked through a storm of fire and circling drones. Imagine robots with machine guns just walking at you. Total machine dominance. The Russian soldiers just broke. They threw down their guns in terror, surrendering to a computer. 0 Ukrainian injuries, not even a scratch on them. They took the base and everyone went home for dinner. Incredible. This wasn't some fluke. This is months of tech-fueled desperation and genius. Born in labs and tested in the mud of war. Nearly 300 Ukrainian companies are now churning out these ground robots. 20,000 more bots are being prepped for the front. This mechanical takeover will be finished by 2026. Let's look at the gear that is making the old world crumble. These machines are rewriting the front lines. Leading the pack is the backbone of it all, Ratel. It used to just haul ammo and pick up the wounded soldiers. But this thing has been totally transformed. It is a mobile disaster center after that February 2026 upgrade. They even added a fiber-optic drone launcher to the back. Here is the part that really terrifies us. Since it uses a fiber-optic cable, jammers can't hit it. Our massive electronic warfare gear is totally blind to these drones. That Ratel isn't just a simple delivery truck anymore. It's a silent killer creeping right toward our front lines. Jammers are useless, it never misses. Now, look at the Termit. Termit is the master of invisible traps and a mine-laying pro. We roll through what looks like safe ground, feeling fine. We don't even realize we're walking into a hellish trap Termit set earlier. Hauling 20 anti-tank mines, this thing crawls around for 12 hours straight. This robot completely freezes our entire advance in. Deadly minefields, and not one Ukrainian gets a single scratch. Right when the fighting gets hottest, the fire-breathing dragons arrive, Ratel and Protector. These two never get scared or tired while we're losing our minds. Ratel hammers our trenches with that relentless automatic grenade launcher. Then comes the Protector, a heavy-class robot. It uses its mounted Browning .50 caliber machine gun on us. It shreds our armor and even hunts our low-flying aircraft. For our infantry, facing an unyielding steel enemy just makes our morale collapse. Behind the big guns stands the real hero, the Zmi. It hauls up to 1,000 kilograms of heavy cargo. This heavy robot keeps their supplies moving through mud and our shelling. While our artillery tries to block their supply routes, Zmi quietly delivers ammo and rescues their wounded from the front. Don't forget the frontline's other silent hero, the Zmi. It can carry a massive 1,000 kilograms of supplies. This heavy robot keeps their lines open despite the mud and explosions. Even when our artillery tries to shut down the roads, Zmi just keeps moving ammo and saving their wounded soldiers. All these machines are the ultimate proof of change. This war has totally changed on the ground, not just the air. Even if Zelensky's big speech made history as a first, their plan to choose steel over men actually started a long time ago. And every new step gets even crazier than the one before. Back in December, one DevDroid robot, all by its own self, held a Ukrainian spot for 45 straight days. People controlled it from 24 kilometers away in total safety. They only checked on it every 48 hours for ammo. A machine just sat there for weeks, never tired and never afraid. Then in January, 3 of our guys surrendered to a robot. The first time a human ever waved the white flag to a machine. That month, the 3rd Assault Brigade dropped some wild footage. A suicide robot packed with 12 anti-tank mines crawled toward troops hiding from drones. The NC-13 unit pulled off Operation Samurai back in February, right in the industrial zone between Zaporizhzhia and Donetsk. 2 ground robots hit Russian ammo dumps and blew everything sky high. They survived 4 drones, 7 airstrikes, and 6 rounds of artillery. Russia spent a fortune trying to kill these bots, but they just kept coming. They're unstoppable. Blowing up ammo is just the start of the wreckage. Ground robots are doing way more than just making things go boom. You and I should look at how these things are actually built to survive. A company called Tenelon LLC just unleashed these high-tech ground systems. They're out there fighting right alongside the big, heavy armored tanks. There are 2 main versions of these bots. One's a straight-up killer, a combat machine with a 40mm grenade launcher and gun. It uses thermal cameras and laser rangefinders to hunt whatever moves. Day or night, it can spot you from kilometers away, no hiding. The other version is the silent worker, the logistics model. It sneaks into the deadliest spots and, if it has to, launches drones. It carries special containers meant for launching FPV drones on the fly. Imagine staring down a hunk of cold metal that feels no pain and knows zero fear. It tracks you in the pitch black using thermal vision. Good luck sleeping. For a soldier, the mental collapse this causes is worse than any wound. These machines are completely changing the math on what a life is worth. And honestly, Ukraine is ready to break that math. The Hornet drone just took things to another level. It's now hunting down military trucks all on its own, no humans. Using software, it stays on course and locks in, even through heavy jamming. It stays locked on the target, even if the signal gets cut. No human operator needed for the kill. It handles the final attack. The drone makes the decision, not us. This is our first real step toward AI-driven warfare. It's happening. Ukraine's drone army is expanding. On April 14th, they showed off. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs brought out the big guns for a defense show. Foreign diplomats were all watching. The star was the SICK drone, flying 1,400 kilometers to hit targets. It carries 40 kilograms of explosives and hits 200 kilometers per hour. It even works when electronic warfare is active. This system gives Ukraine the power to strike deep into Russia. Plus, they're teaming up with partners from all over the world. A San Francisco firm sent 2 Phantom Mark I humanoid robots to Ukraine. They're about 175 centimeters tall and weigh 80 kilograms. These bots can climb stairs and walk through doors like a person. You and I are watching the final piece change the course of war. They are still just an experiment. These things crawl into urban ruins where wheeled bots just fail. We are teaching them to hunt with pistols and M16 rifles. Foundation co-founder Mike LeBlanc doesn't sugarcoat the situation at all. Ukraine has become the ultimate lab for high-stakes killing machines. All these separate breakthroughs are fusing into one terrifying robotic system. On April 18th, Fedorov dropped a massive, historic announcement. The Defense Ministry is ordering 25,000 ground robotic systems. They expect the ink to be dry by mid-2026. That is double the entire drone haul from 2025. This isn't just talk. The machinery of war is already moving. The procurement agency just inked 19 deals to scale things up. We are talking $251 million for local builders. They are building a literal brain center for these ground bots. Fedorov's plan is simple and, honestly, pretty ruthless. The goal is for robots to handle every single supply run. You and I should really consider the weight of that. Every bullet trip, every wounded soldier, all handled by cold steel. Zero humans. Ukraine is essentially deleting people from the front lines. The entire logic of modern combat is just collapsing. For Russia, this is much worse than a tactical headache. The mental breakdown is far more devastating. Bambi, a drone pilot on the front, explains the new horror. The front line has basically become the Terminator. A machine rolls toward you, and your rifle feels useless. Shoot a man and he stops. Machines don't feel anything. Bots don't feel pain. Only the pilot behind the screen matters. That kind of fear makes surrendering look like the only option. Against a human, you think you have a fighting chance. But you and I know a machine with thermal vision wins. It hunts in the dark, and it never gets tired. Imagine surrendering to a robot. It actually happened in Lyman. Entire squads are dropping their guns for a mechanical captor. It isn't cowardice, it is just the total collapse of sanity. Minds break when a death machine is constantly buzzing overhead. Not knowing when it strikes makes old-school attacks a suicide mission. Moscow is stuck with a massive tactical nightmare right now. Their whole plan relied on throwing endless waves of men. They expected us to get tired. But robots don't sweat. Machines don't blink. They don't sleep. They just keep coming. Now they are scrambling to build anti-bot gear they don't have. They are desperately rewriting their playbooks to survive the drones. But a tech leap now? Good luck doing that while sanctioned. It is a painful, slow-motion disaster. And time is up. Our own robot programs are falling way behind Ukraine's right now. We've got the courier combat robot and that little Lyagushka vehicle. But we just can't compete with Ukraine's massive, messy ecosystem. Hundreds of companies are building these, while we're stuck with prototypes. You and I can see the data. Ukraine is flying 30% more drones than us. Now they're using fiber optics that our jammers can't even touch. It's spreading across the entire front line like wildfire. This tech gap is getting wider against us every single month. Their robot revolution is creating some serious problems for us. The biggest issue? Their machines are keeping their people alive. Sure, they're short on men, but the bots don't need drafting. Finding new soldiers to replace the dead is getting harder for everyone. Their defense minister says that just 6 months ago, seeing a robot rescue a wounded soldier was almost unheard of. Now it's routine. Welcome to the new reality of the death zone. Those unmanned aerial vehicles have turned everything within 25 kilometers into a total, absolute graveyard. If you're human, moving during the day is basically a suicide mission. Even at night, those thermal cameras will find you. We're forced to hide in the mud and wait for the fog. But their robots? They own that whole zone. They move silently, without heat, just hunting us in the dark. If we hit one, it doesn't care. It feels no pain. Near Pokrovsk, these bots have been delivering critical supplies since December 2025. One operator said, "One of them came right up to our trench. I felt like a caveman looking at alien technology. 2 years ago, nobody could have even dreamed of this." They say 30% of their infantry could be robots very soon. That could happen by New Year's. Looking further out, that number could hit 80%. Let that sink in. These ground bots only cost between 7,000 and 22,000 pounds. They go 50 kilometers and can hunt for 8 hours on one charge. If one breaks, they build another in weeks. 10 times faster than tanks. Pavlov said, "We lose about 3 robots every single day. That is a 25% loss rate for their current fleet. But if it saves an actual soldier's life, it's a total bargain." You can easily replace a machine, but you can't replace a person. Finding new soldiers is the one problem Ukraine can't just engineer away. Plus, their global prestige is absolutely skyrocketing right now. Everyone wants their battle-tested tech. The world is lining up to buy. Zelensky is signing massive 10-year defense deals with several Gulf nations. Saudi Arabia and Qatar are already putting their money on Kyiv. Ukraine isn't just taking weapons anymore. They're the ones building the future. They're exporting real combat experience built into every single line of code. This operation will go down in history as a total and final collapse. We're watching the biggest shift in military history happen in real time. We are witnessing the total collapse of old-school warfare rules. For centuries, we just threw human bodies into the meat grinder. From sharp sticks to the muddy trenches of World War I. Tanks in the 40s to guerrilla tactics. Ukraine just blew it all up on April 13th. This is the ultimate military reset button. Territory was actually captured without a single human soldier involved. It is as big as the day tanks made horses totally obsolete. Valery Zaluzhny, the former military boss and current ambassador to the United Kingdom, pretty much predicted this collapse at Chatham House. Soon, you and I will see swarms of hundreds of smart, dirt-cheap drones hitting everything all at once from the sky. The ground and the sea. Chaos from every direction. The former deputy at West Point gave an even more brutal assessment. This is not just a temporary phase, it is the actual future of war. Army size doesn't matter anymore. It is all about who has the smarter hardware. Ukraine basically trapped the Russian fleet in port using simple naval drones. Now ground robots are leaving their regular infantry troops completely helpless in their holes. It is the same story on every single front. Cheap, expendable, and mass-producible drones are currently providing a massive asymmetric advantage over expensive, limited conventional weapons. Magura and Sea Baby at sea. On the ground, Ratel and Termit, plus Hornet and Sechin in the air. Ukraine is trashing the old rules. What do you and I make of this? Tell us what you think down in the comments. To stay updated on our exclusive analyses, subscribe to our channel and hit that notification bell. Thanks for choosing us today.